Is it you're on? Okay. Hi, everyone. Hi, my Facebook followers, and thank you for chiming in today. We've got a probably very, very recognized name who has come to our panel today. And thank you very much, Marc Saltzman. And he is he's going to talk after Carrie Ann gives us blah, blah, blah. After Carrie Ann gives us all the stats for the week on the housing market in Halton region, we are then going to talk to Marc about tech horror of tips and tricks of Wi-Fi. All right, awesome. Carrie Ann, you're on for the market stats, please.
Good afternoon. Facebook Live. So the last 7 days on the Halton board, there's been 309 new listings, 147 price decreases, 235 sold, 124 canceled listings, and 11 expired listings. Okay. Average days on market is about 15.
50? 15. Okay. Great. So it's going up as far as average days on the market. But I just want to mention to all our Facebook followers is that the market is not crashing. Everybody, I mean, the Toronto Star and all the news media are, reading doom and gloom. But however, it is not doom and gloom. We have consistent buyers and consistent sales out there. Anywhere from 0 right up to $8 million, $10 million. So I think it's a normal market, hard negotiating, but it's an amazing market. I love this market. So, Marc, we're gonna talk to you. And I have to say that, and it's very casual, our panel is very casual. And I have to say that it is an honor that you came onto our panel because I have read your article in Costco magazine for the 20 years that I have been a member and more.
Thank you.
So it's helped me several times in regard to technology. Very, very smart man that we have sitting on our panel in regard to technology. So I'm going to have you talk about your bio more than anything else because you're the only person that knows exactly what's going on in your life. So tell me what your past achievements are.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. Thanks everybody for inviting me to the Facebook live chat today. So I call myself a technology evangelist because I like to preach about the benefits of technology, how it can enhance and enrich your life. And I am a firm believer that it can. Not that there isn't, some downsides to our reliance on technology and living in the digital world, of course, but generally speaking, I think it personally and professionally, whether you're a real estate agent or broker, or you are someone who is self-employed or not even working at all, I think technology can facilitate deeper and better connections with those who matter to you. It helps you stay on top of information that's relevant to you. It can help you, everything from capture and share life's precious memories to helping you navigate to an unknown location safely, to several health and wellness technologies and devices like smartwatches that can detect falls, helping our seniors age in place, live longer independently at home. So I think technology, yes, I'm biased, is a blessing. Yes, like anything, it could be used or abused. A 3D printer can make a prosthetic to help a little boy run and kick a soccer ball, but it can also be used to 3D print a gun. So you can't blame the technology, it's the people behind it. To go back to your question, so I'm a technology evangelist, but what does that really mean? So I have different mediums in which I try to share my tips and tricks and reviews to help people better understand technology. My catchphrase, if you will, on my radio show, Tech Talk, is that I try to break down geek speak into street speak. How do I demystify tech, not just celebrate it? So the core part of my business is I'm a journalist, as you alluded to. Costco Connection magazine is one of the outlets that I write for, both in Canada and the US. I write for Toronto Star. I write for Post Media. In the US, I'm syndicated through USA Today. I've been with them 24 years every week.
Wow.
USA Today. I write for AARP for seniors in the States, and in Canada, Zoomer, also for that demographic. At Yahoo, MSN, very mainstream publications. I also write books. Because of my approach to technology, it's probably no surprise that I write those dummies books, those yellow and black books. The last one is Apple Watch for Dummies. I've written Siri for Dummies and 14 and 14 other books as well over the years about video games, about how do you use technology to leverage technology for more productivity in the workplace and out of the workplace, working from home, all that stuff. I also, as I mentioned, I host a radio show in Canada called Tech Talk. It's nationally syndicated. In the States. It's called, thank you. It's in the States. It's called Tech It Out. And I also produce and host it here from my home in Thornhill. So I can do that remotely. It's also a podcast. So along with running on over 100 stations in the US, it's also on like Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Amazon Audible and all that. And then I do a lot of TV work. I'm often on, in Canada, Global, CTV, CP24, BT, Breakfast Television in Toronto. And in the States, a bunch of stations, but I have a show on Bloomberg called Tech Impact. It's not in Canada, but it's more of a business tech show, but I'm the host of that. And we shoot that out of Miami. And during the pandemic, we were recording here in my home office and other parts of my home. But it's really a lot of fun. So just to wrap up, under the umbrella of technology, consumer tech mostly, I'm a journalist and an author, radio and podcast host, TV host, and I give speeches and things like that as well. So it's a lot of fun.
So are you a father?
I am, yes, perhaps most importantly, I am a husband and father of three. My three kids are all away at university. So my wife, Kelly, and I are empty nesters for the first time. It's very quiet, very weird. But we have twin 20-year-olds, a boy and a girl twin. My daughter's at Guelph. My son's at Western in London. And my youngest son, Ethan, who's 18, just started so yeah, Jacob and Maya, and then Ethan is 18 and he's at Laurier in Waterloo.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
what a background. What a career path you've had, Mark. That's quite something. And you've obviously pushed and your knowledge must be extreme, and to keep up with technology, etc.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a bit overwhelming, but yeah. Yeah, it's fun.
So do you go to, I'll get onto the Halloween aspect of it in a minute, but do you go to the conventions around the US? And
Yeah, of course. So the big one is coming up in early January called the Consumer Electronics Show, or CES for short. It's the Super Bowl of tech events, if you will. So yeah, I shoot videos down there as well. Some of your viewers may remember I did a Cineplex thing for 11 years. It was a 1-minute tech update at the movies. So I would go with a crew down to the Consumer Electronics Show. We would shoot segments and run them throughout the year. But yeah, that's a big one coming up. Yeah, I'll be on TV across Canada live on the 6th of January. Sharing what I think is kind of the future, robotics and self-driving cars and artificial intelligence. Yeah, fun stuff.
Wow.
Boy, what a life we live now, eh? It goes so fast.
And this is nothing compared to what we're going to be seeing soon. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well, this is interesting. What are we going to be seeing, Mark?
Yeah, I don't know.
Don't get on that. We'll talk about haunted houses.
Okay.
Let's talk about,
if we have time, we'll talk
Halloween.
about the future. Yeah, sounds good.
So Mark, I caught your article in the Toronto Star, and it says, try some high-tech horror at this year's haunted house. So tell me about what you think would be fun, just easy, not something complex, but so easy for people, just the average person, just to put outside their house.
Sure. Outside or inside. And we all have, those homes in our neighborhood that do go all out, with technology or without. But, I tip my hat at those who spend months, if not the entire year, getting their home and their property ready for trick-or-treaters and their parents. I love that. Yeah. But yeah, so the point of the article that was published 2 Saturdays ago in the Toronto Star was that tech can play a role as you get your home ready for Halloween. So you asked about some sort of easy things that you can do, and also only a few days until Halloween. So one is just mood lighting, ambiance, and smart lights can play a role there. Your viewers may already have smart lights, meaning they join your Wi-Fi, and then you can use an app or your voice with a smart speaker to control it all. You can ask if they are color lights. You can ask for a specific color to be shown or a color pattern. You could set timers and schedules, that turn on and off at certain times of the day. You can dim, all using your voice. Very, very convenient. But there are string lights that maybe aren't so high tech, and then there are Wi-Fi enabled string lights that you can drape around your home to add some ambiance when the lights, when it gets darker. For your street, it looks great. And you can, there are some apps that you can add on to your smart lights that let you do things like make it look like flickering candlelight or a fireplace. There's different effects that leverage the smart technology. So have fun with lighting. So number one would be lighting, is for both inside and outside your home to create that mood that you want, whether it's a spooky, the color schemes usually for Halloween are like purple, darker shades of purple or red, or, the odd yellow and greens.
Oranges,
Yeah, oranges as well, of course, for October and for Halloween. But orange and purple are great, and some reds in there. But have a lot of fun. So there are lots of, I'm not going to plug any particular brands today, but there's lots of different smart lights. Often, again, you can install a free app or use your voice if you have one of those smart speakers to control it all. So really easy. You don't have to be tech savvy to install and use smart lights. The one thing you just need to do is join
what
into
you're
your network.
saying, what you're saying is you can scare the heck out of children as they're walking into the door.
Well, I don't know how much mood lighting will scare children, but if you want to go there, with your voice. And you can also have your if you add a couple of sensors nearby, which are inexpensive, they often require like a plug, like a AC plug, is that with sound or motion, it can trigger something, which could be lights. But if you really want to scare those trick-or-treaters in a fun way, I did look at in the article things like animatronic monsters that move, they're somewhat animated, or they jump out at you, those jump scares. I showed a few different examples, everything from creepy killer clown door knockers to this guy being electrocuted, who, when you get close, again, with the motion sensor, it starts activating and it will jump, you will jump out, to remote control tarantulas and, Bloody Mary mirrors. When you say Bloody Mary, it activates and morphs your face into a killer. Like there's budget notwithstanding, there's lots of fun that you can have over a Halloween with, with some technology.
Well, I remember on Seneca Avenue here in Burlington, there was a big gorilla. Remember, we used to go see the big gorilla every year. They used to shut down the street, and the big gorilla and it used to move and everything. So it's crazy.
And it's funny, you remember that years later, right? Because it scared you and it's fun, and as long as you don't really scare kids. I mean, it's a fine line, right? But as long as the moms and dads are with the little ones, like toddlers and once they're tweens and teens, I'm sure then
they have fun with it.
They do not want mom and dad.
They
don't want mom and dad around. They love it. Yeah, there's like creepy pumpkins that and there's lots of tech that you can do with pumpkins as well with smart lighting. But there's creepy pumpkins that have are built-in fog machines, and there's lots you can do. So if you want to Google Toronto Star and my name, Marc Saltzman, Marc with a C, and the word Halloween, you'll see photos of the kinds of things that I'm chatting about.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So you mentioned door knockers. That's really funny. So I think what we should do as a team, I think we should go out door knocking in our Halloween outfits and scare the heck out of people. They'll certainly remember us, won't they? All right. So the other aspect of of Marc's knowledge, we want to pick his brain, and I think a big problem with Wi-Fi is that we move into a 2-story home, and the router is put on the first floor at the back of the house in the office, and then Sheila goes up to her master bedroom and says she wants to use her computer, and the Wi-Fi it works, but it's slow as molasses. and you know, you're sitting there going do 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 do, and then so Mark, tell us what the the tips and tricks are for that.
Yeah. So getting fast and reliable Wi-Fi in your home and every corner of your home can be a challenge today for a few reasons. It could be that you have a number of devices on the network that a couple of years ago you may have only had one, like a laptop. Now the average Canadian home has 24, I think, devices on your Wi-Fi. You know, alarm clocks and
24?
smart. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if that's the average or I'm trying to remember that. Like it was a survey that was done in Canada that showed that it was more than, you know, it was about 24 different devices. It adds up, right? Your smart TV,
That doesn't
your smart
surprise me.
speaker, yeah,
Yeah.
a couple of laptops, perhaps, or a desktop and a laptop, smartphones. There you go. Right, Carrie Ann?
Well, our phones are always
Smartwatches.
on. The minute you walk into your house, your phone automatically always
Sure.
goes onto Wi-Fi.
iPads,
yeah.
tablets, and other tablets, ebook
Yeah.
readers. You
Right,
know,
right.
your wireless earbuds can join your
Oh, that's
Wi-Fi, not
right.
just Bluetooth, but Wi-Fi. You know, the list goes on and
Yeah.
on, more than you realize. You know, there's smart frames, you know, like photo frames,
Yeah.
smart
Oh, yeah.
smart appliances, right?
Oh,
A lot of
right.
I just showed on TV in October. I went on TV and I did a bunch of interviews tied to the theme of home smart home, and it was all like the high tech stuff, everything from, you know, hands-free faucets. Like in my kitchen, I can say with my voice, you know, turn on. I can not only ask for water to turn on if my hands are busy cooking something or I'm touching raw chicken and you don't want to touch the handle. Not only can I specify the temperature of the water, I can also specify the amount. So if I want to make rice and you know, I have 1 cup of rice and 2 cups of hot water, I can ask for exactly 2 cups of hot water.
That is amazing.
Yeah. And so my faucet's on my Wi-Fi, for goodness sakes, right?
That is amazing.
So everything is going on your Wi-Fi. I was setting up the solution by just discussing the problem, but I don't want to get too carried away. I think we get the idea. We
Yeah.
rely on Wi-Fi
Yeah.
a lot more. Another issue is bigger homes and older homes.
Yes.
You know, with older homes, concrete walls and all that, you're going to get those dead zones that you alluded to. So what can you do? The first thing you can do is make sure that the router, which is what turns your internet connection into a wireless one, is in as much as you can, a central part of the home. So you said it was on one side of the home. That's not a good idea. As best as you can, and it may require a bit of fishing of cables through the wall, is that you want to have your router in the middle of your home as best as you can and not in the basement, because then anything above the router will have trouble. So main floor is recommended, or sometimes the top floor, but definitely the main floor and as central as possible. Because if you have it on one side of the house, if you're on the other side, you're going to have issues. I can tell you what you can do in a moment to mitigate that, but try as best as you can to have your router on the main floor, not in the basement. It works better when it's above the ground. So on a table, desk, or bookshelf, something like here, I've got my router, and you can't see it, but beside that white printer is my router, off the floor. I know they're not pretty, so people like to put them sometimes even behind a cabinet with the door closed. That's going to impede your signal. So elevate it, central, home, and the main floor. That's number one. Number two is to make sure that you are paying for decent Wi-Fi with sometimes you pay like the lowest tier with your internet service provider, and as a result, it's just not keeping up with the demand in the home. Like when your kid's trying to watch Netflix and your other kid's trying to play Fortnite and you're trying to get your work done, and it's just too much. So make for the bandwidth. It's, you know, it's like restricting the lanes on a highway. It's like the 401 being congested. What a surprise. So instead of 5 open lanes, you've got 1 or 2. So that's going to hurt. So make sure you're at least paying for what you can afford. And obviously the faster the speeds, the better. Another tip is if you do have a larger home, then the term is called a mesh system. So not only do you have your router, which may be on one side of your home, it's okay if you have these little pucks or hubs that you can place elsewhere in your home. And collectively, they all make a wireless handshake, if you will. So these are these little devices that you plug into your wall. You could buy them or rent them through your internet service provider or buy them outright. They're not too expensive, but the idea is that you put them in different floors of your home and in different rooms, and then it broadens the signal. So you don't have any of those dead zones. So you place one near where you've got the issues. Like in our home, we always had an issue in the kitchen. Our Wi-Fi worked great everywhere, even in the bedroom. But once we hit the kitchen, for whatever reason, just the architecture of our home, it was lousy. So we put a puck nearby, like in the hall, but adjacent to the kitchen, and it fixed it all. So when you're
Mhm.
on the internet there, it's actually talking to the puck, which then talks to the router. Yeah. So a mesh system is definitely recommended.
Now, the mesh system, does that, when you call your provider, like Bell or Rogers or any one of those, does that mean that they're going to charge you for those extenders?
Yes. So you may get a package where it's included, but often I know with Bell, you rent them. You don't have an option to buy them, which is not for everyone. I would recommend, if you can, but I am always a fan of buying outright instead of renting, because then you end up paying more, right? Same with your smartphone. If your smartphone is $800, it's, even though it stinks to try to come up with that much in one shot, it's better than, $80 a month, because you're going to end up paying more than you know what I mean? When you do the math.
Yeah.
So same with those pucks. The ones that I have are not rented. They were purchased outright. And it's for any mesh system you go with, it's a modular approach. So you can add or remove them as needed, or move them around. Like usually there's a companion app that will tell you the optimal place you put it in the wall, and it'll tell you this is the perfect place. Or the mistake, a kind of a rookie mistake, is people put the puck or the hub in the room that they have the problem with. It has to be kind of halfway, if you will, between the router and the room that you have a problem with, right? So the room that you have a problem with, if you put a puck in there, it's still going to have trouble talking to the router. So you just want to, it's kind of an extender, if you will, a range extender, but just a newer version of that technology that works much better.
Yeah. So let's go to office buildings. Is that the same for office buildings? When you have a, let's say you have a 3,000 or 4,000 square foot office that you are sitting in, and the Wi-Fi is not very receptive in your office.
Yes.
Same thing.
Yes. So a mesh system doesn't matter if it's a residence or a residential or commercial property.
Okay.
You definitely want to have a guest network. If you are providing Wi-Fi in your place of business, don't let guests join your main wireless network. Always set up a secondary one that's only for guests with a separate password, just for extra security and privacy. Yeah. So you want to make sure that even if you're providing it for free, that you segregate it from the internet that you rely on to run your business, just in case there is a virus or something that someone has on their computer.
Yeah. All right. So let's get on to the more fun tips and tricks. Is there anything you can talk about that, new and exciting, something that would stir our juices in regard to technology?
Well, yeah. So I was hinting earlier that I like to cover where we're going in the future. That could be either scary or exciting, depending on how you feel about technology. And I know that your audience, they're either realtors or they're people interested in homes, and so I'll talk about things that are happening in the home. So many of us, my generation, we've seen cartoons like the Jetsons, where a robot is walking around and cleaning up, and Rosie the robot, if you remember. I'm dating myself here. Michelle's going, what are you talking about here? Yeah,
I know
I
she
remember
is.
the Jetsons. I love that one.
Yeah, right.
But that was a most amazing animated cartoon to come out.
Yeah.
Because did we ever think that was that was?
I was more of
robots. I have a funny story.
Please.
Because it was my birthday in September, and we went to a dim sum place, but we went at night, so whatever, it was dinner, and we told them it was my birthday.
Yeah.
And the robot came strolling over, singing through the whole restaurant so loud, and for a good 3 minutes, it was the worst 3 minutes of my life.
Hilarious.
Wow. But it was like, happy birthday to you, with these eyes, and it was hilarious. And it was one of those restaurant waiter robots, and they
Mhm.
clicked on the buttons and they said, okay, happy birthday, and it sang to you, and it brought me a little
Wow.
cake, and I was like, wow, this is cool. This is the
Yeah.
future for
This is,
sure.
but that's the future, isn't
That's
it?
Yeah,
amazing.
so they
Yeah.
look like robots right now. I've seen these robotic waiters as well. A lot of Asian restaurants have them because it's convenient to, like, you order a bunch of food for the table, and
Yeah.
it so it's probably a human that takes the order, and then the server is a robot, and then you just take it off the tray. Like, it'll turn around for you and it'll say, "Hey, Mark, your table is you're in the middle trays here." So you grab all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
And there's eyes and stuff like that, but they look like, they look like robots. But imagine one day when, and they're working on this quite a bit, where they look very much like us and they move with such fluidity. Like, it's very natural. They're on 2
Funny.
feet, not on wheels. And we'll get there one day where, they are making you breakfast, and it's a domestic helper, right? And then they're helping to get the kids ready for school, and
Oh my gosh.
they'll turn to me and say, "Mark, don't forget, it's your wife Kelly's, it's your anniversary. Would you like me to order flowers for her today?" It's kind of like Alexa or Google or Siri, but with a face and a personality, even, that will be, it's artificial intelligence or machine learning, where it'll start learning your habits. You can remind it things like, "Yeah, this is my mom's birthday, please remind me," and it'll get better and better, and the lips match the because already with Google and Siri and Alexa, the voice is very natural. It doesn't sound synthetic anymore, but that's just the beginning, where it's really gonna,
Well,
be
I think
crazy.
it started a lot with the robot vacuums around the house,
Roombas,
right?
sure, yeah.
Robotic vacuums.
And
Yeah.
I noticed now, like the Siri, I have an American man voice on my phone.
Yeah.
So it has like that accent, the like
Yeah.
Southern accent. And every time I say it, my son turns to me and goes, "Mom."
Yeah.
I'm like,
And
"Oh,
I have
well."
a British woman, because that's all what you like. It's what you like, right?
They
So,
have a lot more different
yeah. So
people.
they've added, and then when it comes to diversity, they also added different voices last year that better represent different cultures or different races in the US and all that. They have like an African American voice, like a Black voice. And I use air quotes when I say Black voice, because you could say, well, what is that? But they were trying to address the different people who use Apple products and try to be better representing their audience, which I applaud. Not to mention, you can have different accents from around the world. Not just within English, you can have an Australian accent, a UK accent.
Exactly.
Yeah. But
So what do you see for real estate as far as future situations? Anything as far as technology? Anything coming out there? Anything jumping out?
So we've seen some early, we've had an early taste of what's collectively referred to as the metaverse. This virtual sort of or digital twin of the real world, in which you can work and play and learn and socialize and game and dates and all that. So it's kind of like virtual reality. There's a little bit more to it than that. There's also augmented reality, but at the risk of splitting hairs, right now you can send your potential buyers a Matterport, walkthrough of a home, right? It's like a virtual walkthrough. But imagine you don a headset and it's tied to head tracking, and you can, or if you're trying to envision what a space could look like with, furnishings, instead of staging it, you can virtually drop in a nice couch here and a table here, and
Which we do,
yeah,
which we
right.
do.
So we're already seeing the beginnings of that, because you're trying to simulate what it would be like being there in person, even though they may not be physically. Like, if I wanted to buy a place in Burlington and I was busy in Thornhill, instead of making the hour drive, I can, virtually get a sense of,
Exactly.
So I expect more of that, and it's just going to get more and more realistic. Or you're there and you put on a pair of augmented reality glasses where you can still see the real world around you, but it's got digital information superimposed on top. Yeah. So expect more of that for those looking for a home. Tools like that will give the potential buyer a sense of what they're seeing, right? Virtual walkthroughs of the neighborhood, instead of just a walking score, it'll be like more interactive and realistic. So there's lots of neat things that are on the horizon.
Well, Google started the virtual walking tour their maps.
Sure.
So
Yeah. The
it's
Google Maps
amazing
and yeah,
how
the
you-
live
you know, how
view.
you can do that.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
unfortunate part is that they only show, you get to the street, but they don't go down the driveway. They just show the street.
Because they're not allowed to. It's privacy, right?
Because of privacy, right?
But
And-
if
and-
you're listing your home, like, so I mentioned my youngest son is living in Waterloo, Laurier. He's now looking at an apartment for his second year because he's in residence first year. So
Yeah.
I did the Matterport walkthrough from here in Thornhill. I
Yeah.
was looking at going from room to room, and it's like, yeah, it's like Google Live View, right? You click and it advances you a few steps, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's kind of neat. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the
And
homes are
it's-
going to get
it's-
smarter,
it's-
more automated.
So it's rather neat because, first of all, the globe is getting smaller and smaller. The world is getting smaller and smaller. We get to know people around the world. Our buyers are around the world. They can tell me they live at 123 such and such a street, and I can actually Google Earth it, and actually see their house, or their
Right.
property. And so it's such an amazing world out there. In regard to technology for realtors, because we can do the research and do it to the ultimate. A name comes across our desk and we can actually find out everything about them,
Mhm.
everything about them.
Yeah.
Which is rather neat, isn't it?
Yeah,
Um,
I think so. With responsibility, right? Like
Yeah,
again,
with
like
of course, with
no, and I don't mean
responsibility,
on
yeah.
your end. I just meant like like a lot of people are oversharing information inadvertently. They just don't know what they're sharing, or they think that this free app or game is truly free. Somebody has to pay to make that game or app. So I often write articles about how to just try to share less and be a bit more private, even though a lot of people are like, I don't have anything to hide, whatever. You can even, by the way, you can have your home on Google Maps blurred out. I've
Wow.
written articles on how to do, not articles. I write like a tech tip of the day on social media. So that was one of them. Like, here are the steps to, if you want privacy.
You
you
want
can
it
do that.
blurred out, and you
Yeah.
can have it blurred out, eh?
Yeah, you have to.
Isn't that interesting?
You have to submit a request to each, like Apple's doing it as well. So, but Google's the biggest. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, you can.
So your intention is to continue your work and to continue to gain knowledge of what technology is doing. So one of the things I saw down in California a couple of years ago when I went to a convention is the gentleman who was talking on stage said that eventually you're going to be able to walk off the subway and actually there's a virtual board there, and you can go, I want a package of cigarettes, and it will come out. And you can buy it, it's just all there for you. Then the other thing they mentioned is that you can walk into a booth and you can go, I want to go to Istanbul and I want to go to this street on Istanbul, and you can be on that street. So
Do you mean virtually or
Yeah.
actually? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like a holodeck kind of experience. It's
yeah.
kind of like virtual reality without wearing the headset.
Have you seen
Yeah.
those yet?
I've seen some early days of the holodeck. It's not as immersive as virtual reality, in my opinion, just yet. But yeah, you could use your voice to ask for content to see and simulate what it's like walking around a small town and, wherever. So yeah, you could do that. And then as far as, like a vending machine on steroids, if you will, what's neat there is that imagine one day that I talked about 3D printing earlier, also referred to as additive manufacturing, that if we all had this one device in our home that can make items super quick, imagine one day buying something on Amazon and instead of waiting for it to be delivered, and it might be by a delivery drone by those days, 30 minutes or less, that your printer just makes it. I'm going out for dinner. Let's say I'm wearing this shirt. My wife, Kelly, says, hey, don't forget our reservations are in an hour. If I don't have a tie to go with this dress shirt that I'm wearing, I can use my voice or an app to order a tie, a licensed tie on Amazon, and it could just make it. It's not crazy, right? And then it's faster than it being delivered. So it's kind of like teleporting in a way, like beam me up, Scotty kind of thing, like from the Amazon warehouse to my home. In a way, but it's really just zeros and ones, right? It's making the program based on the licensed tie that I bought and maybe, customized, but that's not crazy either. Now there are different kinds of 3D printers that make different, items with different kinds of material. There's plastic, there's more like industrial grade 3D printers that use metal. Like if you go one day, you're going to pull your car into a body shop and you're going to need to order a part instead of waiting for it to, like for me, I had to wait 6 months once for a part to come from the US for my car.
Yeah.
They'll just make it. They'll know your exact make and model, and they'll
Yeah.
3D print that metal part that you need, and they'll install it while you wait. So
Well,
that's
you-
just a matter of time. There's food-based
You
3D
also,
printers,
you also
cloth.
mentioned, you
Yeah.
also mentioned prosthesis, and I heard about that. Actually, it's funny, Mark, because I was having lunch with my girlfriend and we were talking about that, and she had, somebody had come to their shop and said, I just had a prosthesis made with a 3D printer. And
Yeah.
we went,
Because it's
you know,
it's
like
custom, it's made tailored to you and your body shape, and
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
there's some wonderful things that are being done,
Yeah.
So I think it's a bright future. It's an exciting one. Is it perfect? Of course not. But hopefully, electric vehicles will be better on the environment with zero emissions than gas-based vehicles, even though there's the question of what happens with the battery, or how bad is it on the environment that, to make the battery, there's all these questions, but hopefully we're inching towards a better life and better society and we're leaving the planet in a better place for our kids and grandkids. That's right now it's a big
That's
it's
what
a
we
big
hope
issue,
for.
right?
Yes.
With
Yeah, yeah.
climate change and things like that. But you hope that through technology, and then what about jobs, right? You don't want to feel like your job is being replaced by a robot waiter or
Well,
waitress, or
but you see-
so I think the two are going to work together. Like it's
And
going to
Mark,
require.
I think this is where people, the younger generation, the older generation, I've been in one job for 40 years, right? The younger generation, because of the fast changes and the fast changing world and the fast changing situations in technology and losing their job, this is where they have to become more diverse. And it's like a company, when something becomes redundant, you automatically have to change, or you have to become
You gotta
more
pivot.
diverse.
Yeah.
And so that's realistically what it's all about, isn't it? The kids are going to have to become more diverse, so they get
Mhm.
educated in that field, but then jump to another field and get educated in that field
Mhm.
because now it changed, right?
I once
So-
read she was the head of the Watson division at IBM. That's like their AI department, that for every job that automation replaces, so robots or self-driving cars or AI, this technology creates 3 to 4 net new jobs. They're just different jobs. So while a vacuum may be cleaning your rug instead of you hiring someone to do it, the skill sets are going to shift, as you're touching on, and there's going to always be room for coders and programmers and people who service those robots or market those robots. Then I think there's always going to be jobs that new jobs that are created out of these industries.
Absolutely.
10 years ago, if I would have said, oh, I want to make an app for a living, people would say, what's an app? Like, you mean like an appetizer?
Yes.
Well,
That's
so
like the BlackBerry.
yeah, BlackBerry.
There was a client of mine said,
yeah, apples
I
and
have-
blackberries. It's not fruit. Yeah, right.
Anyway, Mark, time is up, and we don't want to keep you any longer.
Pleasure.
And-
Great to chat
and-
with you.
And we want to thank you so very much for coming on to our panel. And thank you, Facebook followers, for coming on and listening to this. This will be out and about and shared probably a good 100 times out there this week. So you will be seen many, many times, Mark. But everybody remember that Keller Williams is the largest real estate company in the world, agent-wise and company office-wise. And we have 175 agents out there globally. So please understand that we can represent you globally, locally, any way you want. So thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks for having me.
Have a
Thanks,
wonderful
everybody.
weekend. Okay.
You too.
Bye-bye.